Shabbat Shalom. I know it's a little dreary, a little drizzly outside, but we're so glad that you're here with us this morning to celebrate Shabbat. Maybe, hopefully, some sun will come shining through our stained glass windows while we get this opportunity to stop and reflect, rejuvenate for the week to come. Join us on page 67 as we share in a responsive inspiration, reflection for prayer and preparation for our service. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, evil and enmity, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
We turn to page 77 as we offer two prayers, one for the gift of our bodies and then a gift for our souls, remembering that Judaism believes that our spiritual and physical lives are intertwined. They rely on each other. So join with us in the English on page 77, and then sing with us in the Hebrew on page 78. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar, umafli la'asot.
Eloi, Eloi, neshama, shenatata bi tehorai. Eloi, Eloi, neshama, shenatata bi tehorai. Ata verata, ata yetzarta, ata nefachta bi. Ve'ata meshamra b'kirbi. Eloi, Eloi, neshama, shenatata bi tehorai.
On page 83, we share responsively, setting our intentions for the week ahead. As I awaken, let this be my thought. May my day be filled with acts of loving kindness. Let me be drawn to learning and discernment, and may my actions be shaped by mitzvot.
Keep me from iniquity, disgrace, and sin. May I not be overwhelmed by temptation or despair.
Distance me from evil people and false friends. Let me cultivate a life of goodness.
May my hands reach out in kindness, and I will serve God through acts of righteousness.
Today and every day, may I merit your mercy by living my life with compassion and love.
Holy One of blessing, draw me to your words. Teach me the art of sacred living.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. We rise now for Chatzi Kaddish, turning to page 106 as we remain standing through the Shema.
Yitkadav, yitkadash, Shemhei Rabbah, Amen. Ve'almad yivrach eretei, ve'amliach malchutei, v'chayachon v'yamechon, v'chayilcho beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zeman kariv, v'yimeru, Amen. Yehesh Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olameh. Vitador, vitala, vitala, Shemeir kudesha brichu, Leila min kol bechata v'shirata, Tush bechata v'nechemata, Tahmiron be'olema, V'meru amen. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Ha'ed, Le'olam Ha'ed. Yalalai, 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 yalalai,
On page 110, we continue with Yotzer, or praising God for the gift of creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvarei choshech, osei shalom uvarei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha berachamim, uv tuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechokma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita yefa'arucha sela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh chulanu mehera le'oro, baruch ata Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. On page 113, we read together on the bottom. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote, we reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Please join me on page 116 with Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 121, we read together on the top. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh, nor teilot osef ele, shira chadasha שבחו גאולים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Ka Yisrael.
We rise for the Amidah, beginning on page 124.
Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, sfatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, sfatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, sfatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor ve'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, Lema'an Shemo ve'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Yaakov כל אתריו להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומותיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך, וקרא זה על זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד קורלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. We continue on page 132, singing together Yismechu as we rejoice in this day of rest that we have been given.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, חורי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, חורי עונג שבת. מקדשי V'koreonek Shabbat.
We read together on page 134. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 137, we read responsively. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy.
May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah.
Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness. Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well.
On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life, in peace, and in joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha be'yirah na'avod.
We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova v'racha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova v'racha. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova v'racha. Please take a moment now for your own silent prayers.
Kriyat Torah, service for the reading of Torah, page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah. And let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We rise in honor of our Torah.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, u'memashaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai melech le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'moiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
On the bottom of page 247, we read responsively. In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now.
Teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it. Baruch Shanatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shanatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti, unomema Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagdulah, hagvura, hatiferet, vehanetzach vehahod. Ki chol bashamayim uvaret, ki chol bashamayim uvaret. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, ve'mitnaseh lechol erosh. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
You may be seated. We are going to, guys don't mind handing those out. We're going to share in a Torah study, a brief Torah study about this week's Torah portion, Bo. If you're a regular Saturday morning attendee, this is what we do, so that's not a surprise. If you happen to be here as part of our 6th grade B'nai Mitzvah program, this might not be what you are required to do when you become a bar bat mitzvah, but on a regular Saturday morning when we do not have a bar bat mitzvah, we take some time to look at a section of the Torah portion of the week and try to understand what it is teaching us. So we may have to share, we might not, yeah? So maybe if 2 people can use one sheet, if there's 2 of you, or, you know. Oh, wow. All right, I misjudged the pile in my folder. All right. So, how we doing?
Anyone else who wants to share?
Maybe Ralph and Arwen could share, if they don't mind.
We need extras, yeah, thank you.
I think by the time you make copies, we'll hopefully be chanting Torah. So raise your hand if you cannot see a sheet. If you want to see a sheet, of course. Yeah. Oh, Barb, you don't have a sheet? No, you should have a sheet. It's good. Can also, even if you're not good friends with the people near you, just get a little closer and share some Torah. Torah is meant to bring people together. Chavruta is what we're supposed to do, which means friends, study partners. So, you shouldn't sit alone if you don't have to. Okay, so Parshat Bo, we are really at the climax of the Exodus story. Not that we're at the climax of the book of Exodus, we're really just at the first part of it, but we have our last few plagues and also the moment where the Israelites actually leave Egypt and leave servitude and start their way towards the Sea of Reeds or the Red Sea. So what, if you had to think, and of course we tell this story every year at Passover, right? So what, if you had to think about the one thing that epitomizes Passover more than anything at all, what would you say it would be? I'm talking food, just to make it a little easier. Who said that? Okay. Thank you, Andrew. I was kind of hoping for a sixth grader, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, matzah, right? So the reason we're supposed to eat matzah, anyone know, other than God commanded it, but what are we, Kara? Beautiful. They were in a rush, right? They had to go immediately. They didn't have time for their dough to rise properly. They slapped it on their backs, right? And off they went, and it dried in the sun. Ta-da, matzah, right? It's not quite the real story, and we're going to look at this right now because actually the Israelites knew for quite some time that their journey was going to happen. Right? I mean, they had 10 plagues, right? And they were told that God is going to free them. And they even said, we're going to be doing this. And yet, at the end, they seem to be caught by surprise, even in a bit of a panic. So we're going to look at this section and try to understand what it was that made them feel that sense of panic and that rush. Dimitri, will you read for us the English of our Torah text, Exodus 12, verses 33 to 39?
The Egyptians urged the people on, impatient to have them leave the country, for they said, "We shall all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders. The Israelites had done Moses' bidding and borrowed from the Egyptians objects of silver and gold and clothing. And the Lord had disposed the Egyptians favorably toward the people, and they let them have their request. Thus they stripped the Egyptians. The Israelites journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. Moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough, and that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay. Nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves.
Thank you. Okay, so we know the Egyptians, after the death of every firstborn, the Egyptians are like, get out, right? So they gotta go. There's no longer, no, we really want them to stay, right? God somehow convinces the Egyptians to give away all their gold and silver to the Israelites, and they take it. Maybe reparations, that's a whole other conversation for another day. And there's a lot of them, right? We've got 600,000 men plus women and children and mixed multitudes. That means anyone else who thought like now is a good time to get out of Egypt, right? But our key thing to consider is they were driven out of Egypt. They could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves, right? So why were they so totally unprepared? Rabbi David Ellenson, I think it could be Jackie Ellenson, I couldn't figure out which one it was, asks, they're married, they're wonderful, they're both fantastic people. They ask the questions I think many of us would ask as well. Michael.
Why don't the people prepare well in advance for their redemption? Doesn't God promise them that their moment of liberation is at hand? And they see the effect of 10 devastating plagues in Egypt. Yet with all this advance notice, they still have time only to prepare matzah, bread that hasn't had time to rise because they leave Egypt in such a hurry. What have they been waiting for?
Great. What have they been waiting for? So first we get a Hasidic commentary, Yaakov Moshe Harlop, who gives us one explanation. It's short, it's just a sentence. No, somebody.
At the last instant of their exile, the Israelites themselves realized and felt that they could not remain in Egypt for another minute, and they could not tarry. That was why they left with such a haste.
So what's he saying? They don't really believe it, right? They don't really think that this redemption thing is actually going to happen. They don't want to get their hopes up too high, and they also can't really imagine what life other than the life they have could even possibly be. They don't even know that they have the confidence to take that first step until suddenly they have no choice but to take that first step, and then they're like, oi, right? Very important Jewish term, oi. They hadn't prepared at all. Okay. Aviva Zornberg, very highly intellectual Israeli commentator, also shows us some more psychological underpinnings to that response. Barbara.
The significance of that night to the Israelites relates to the paradoxes of freedom. They resist the expulsion order of Pharaoh and remain immobile in their houses. This immobility is described as a tableau of readiness to leave. The manner in which they are to eat of the sacrifice is b'chipazon, in haste. But the word, as translated by Rashi, has the connotation of panic, bahala, of disorientation. Strangest of all, the panic eating is commanded ahead of time. It is a planned panic inscribed in the laws, essential to what is to be staged on the night of the Exodus. This haste of the Israelites, which is a question not merely of tempo, but of mood, has an ungainly, undignified quality, for they could not delay, appears as a redundant statement in a verse that has already explained why the bread remained unleavened, for they were driven out of Egypt. The second clause, they could not delay, describes their own inner panic, quite distinct from the pressure of the Egyptians, which had happened at night.
Have you ever been planning for an airplane trip and you woke up early and you even packed most of your stuff the night before and everyone is seemingly on time, ready to get out the door, and then suddenly there's 5 things you forgot to do and you're in a total panic as you're trying to get out that door, and suddenly like, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. And then the kids are like waiting for the parents who have been like pushing them along the whole time. Anyone? That's just my house? Okay, good. There's this like, we cannot delay, and yet this pushing back before we move forward. But I love this point. It's not merely tempo, but mood, right? It's not just that this is a moment of hurry. It's a sense of disorientation and panic, despite the fact that they need to go because they've been told to go. They need to go because they want to go. And yet, even though this is something they have maybe prayed for 400 years, they're somehow just about stuck until they get shoved out the door, right? All right, Ellen Frankel brings it home for us.
All right.
Brett.
To a slave, planning for the future is a luxury he or she cannot afford, and a Pharaoh's promises can never be trusted. Even the few hours it takes bread to leaven may turn out to be only a temporary reprieve from suffering rather than a prelude to real freedom. The Israelite women believe that they're truly free only when they're finally able to sit down together in their tents, babies on their knees, waiting for their dough to rise.
So this moment, and really every time we eat that matzah and sit at our Seder tables, which I know is still a few months away, no one should stress about it quite yet, is there to remind us of the paradox of what it means to actually be free. It doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want. It means that there is a whole other list of responsibilities and obligations that come with being independent. And the Israelites aren't quite there yet. And this moment of leaving really highlights those kind of tensions, not just in the master story of the Jewish people, but in our own lives. I dare to say that we have some young people here in the sanctuary this morning, not tonight, it's morning already, I know, who are getting ready or starting to get ready for their B'nai Mitzvah, and that is both a really exciting and wonderful thing, and also a really stressful and overwhelming thing. It's a thing you look forward to and know is gonna be fabulous, but it's really hard to understand exactly how you're gonna get there, how you're gonna get right here with us and your family and lead the entire congregation, which you're gonna be able to do and do beautifully because we know it's gonna happen, it always does. But sometimes, this may or may not happen to you, there's a bit of a matzah moment that happens in your life in the weeks or maybe the month before your bar bat mitzvah where suddenly, even though you've been planning, you find yourself in a really big rush to get it all done and get it all done beautifully. It's kind of human nature, but we know that just like the Israelites did leave and they did get to the sea, which is next week's Torah portion, you gotta come back to hear that part of the story, they do become free, and here we are thousands of years later because of that redemption. We also know that all of you, and those of us who have had bar bat mitzvahs know, will in their own way, you will each get up here and lead the congregation beautifully in services and teaching Torah, and maybe you'll have a little matzah in your pocket just to remember. Okay, so Kendra's gonna chant this section of text for us. We're all gonna practice and share in the Torah blessings, and you can follow along in the Hebrew. It's a good opportunity to practice because it's right here. And if you're looking for the blessings, they are on page 250. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach, Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch ata Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. ותחזק מצרים על העם, למהר לשלחה מן הארץ, כי אמרו כולנו מתים. וישא העם את בצקו טרם יחמץ, משארותם צרורות, ושמלותם על שכמם. ובני ישראל עשו כדבר משה, וישאלו ממצרים כלי כסף וכלי זהב ושמלות. ואדוני נתן את חן העם בעיני מצרים, וישילום, וינצלו את מצרים. ויסעו בני ישראל מרמסי סוכותה כ600,000 רגלי, הגברים לבד מטף, וגם ערב רב עלה איתם, Vitzon vakar mikne kaved me'od. Vayofu et habatzek asher hotziu Mitzrayim ugot matzot kilo chametz ki gorshu miMitzrayim velo yochlu litmamea vegam seda lo asu lahem.
Join with me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. In the presence of Torah, we offer prayers of healing for those who face the future not fully whole. Yishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our ancestors before us bless all those who struggle with sickness, all those who long to be healed. If there's someone in your life, someone you hold in your heart in need of healing, I invite you to think of them now. Close your eyes if you wish. Whisper their names out loud. And so we link the names of those in our hearts with those listed in our order of service as we offer our prayer for healing Mishaberach. The words are on page 253.
Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. We turn back to page 252 as we make ready to return Torah to the ark, and we rise in honor of the Torah.
V'tzata Torah shesa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. V'zot haTorah shesa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Page 256. Et chaim hi l'machazikim ba v'tomchea me'oshar terachea tachenom v'chol netivotea shalom
continue with Aleinu, page 283.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שמח חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn to page 291 for our memorial meditation. A meditation by Rabbi Richard Levy. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become, yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yahrzeits, we remember them. Samuel Abramson, Kathy Adelman, Selma Adelman, Lila Anthony, Shirley Arbetter, Alan Bachman, Elaine Basile, Lena Belsky-Belden, Lawrence Berkowitz, Ephraim L. Block, Eva Barkin Block, Ruth Elaine Bird, Wilfredo Cantu, MD, Paul David Chernus, Nat F. Cohen, Maurice Davis, Julie Decker, Stephen Echlov, Paul Feinberg, Mildred Boritz Feiner, Alexandra Ferman, Kalman Garfinkel, Abram Gerson, Selma Golden, Edna Guggenheim, Ruth Hendon, Mildred Higdon, Oscar Honig, Mary Holliday, Lillian Hurwitz, Isidore Kaplan, Charles Julius Katz Sr., Arthur Corman, Ernst V. Kunz, Polly Landa, Jane Lauderstein, Ruth Levinson, Henry Lieberman, Polly Livingston, Rose Mandel, Marlene Nathan Meyerson, Dr. Neil Morgan, Harriet Newman, Levi Stern Newman, Wolf Pearl, Philip J. Pfeiffer, Morris Rafkin, Lenore Burler Rodas, Golda Reutman, Aaron Roos, Lucille Sager, Kenneth E. Salzberg, Saul Charlack, Joel Ivan Scherer, Alfred W. Simon, Jean Singer, Oscar Spitz, Sonny Stokes, Lois Saphir, Edward Unger, Harold Vexler, Sheldon Vexler, Irina Vishnevetsky, Dr. Donald Wayne, Albert Weiner, William Weiss, Dr. Herman S. Wygotsky, Cecilia Whittles, Jesse Wolf, and Babette Wurzburg. To these names, we add those who have been laid to rest in the past month, whose family and friends are in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember Jeanette Rentiera, Mark Rogo, Kathy Nye, Hollis Drake Letty, and Keith Diamond. We also think of one who has been laid to rest this week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. Remember Dr. Michael Lehman, brother of Temple Beth-El member Mickey and Stephen Gross. With all of these names and those which are in our hearts each and every day, we turn to page 294, rising together as one community for Kaddish Yatom. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitzadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'riachu, La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Our closing song is In Kelohenu on page 322. Please join us in the stall gallery right after services for Kiddush and Motzi and some light treats. And then if you're here for our 6th grade B'nai Mitzvah program, we're going to go into the Bar Shop auditorium for lunch and our program.
In Kelohenu, in Kadonenu, in Kemokenu, in Kemoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemokenu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Elohenu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emokenu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Elohenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.